Liebe Leute, willkommen zurück zu Suzerain. Wir haben eine neue Vizepräsidentin benannt, und zwar Gloria Torrey, die ehemalige Sprecherin der Nationalversammlung, die jetzt von Alban Cleven ersetzt wurde, dem Sprecher des progressiven Flügels in der Partei. Das könnte ein weiterer Schritt sein, die Partei zu erneuern in eine postsolistische Ära. Jetzt werden wir uns allerdings in der Hauptstadt als erstes mal mit der Situation der Frauenrechte beschäftigen. I was sitting in my office. I looked at the clock. 2:26 p.m. It was almost time for my appointment with Chiara on women's rights. There was a knock at the door. Chiara entered the room with folders in her hand. The door did not close behind her. Monica entered the room and stood next to Chiara. Mr. President. Anton, before we start, I just wanted to thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I've been dreaming about this ever since I volunteered with the Swedish League of Women. Ja, lange ist es her, huh? I can't believe the moment's finally here. I think both of you together could finally bring change to Sordland. I hope you're right. Chiara sat down on a chair and laid down the folder she was holding. First off, Mr. President, I wish to thank you for pushing a decree on establishing gender equality in education. You know, this is something I've been trying to accomplish since my appointment as minister. The situation in the public schools was disturbing to me. With that said, we still have a long way to go before Swedish women are able to enjoy the same rights and privileges as men, or even as their counterparts in Acacia and United Contana. We've been lagging behind on this for decades, Anton. And this isn't only a moral issue. I've seen enough revolutions in this world to understand the main driver of any change. Money. She flipped the folder open and started pulling out documents. In United Contana, law dictates that women earn the same wages as men in their respective fields. My research shows that this led to a 15.5% increase in productivity. You could say this had a direct influence on their superpower status. Acacia passed laws ensuring maternity leave rights, child daycare centers, and tax deductions for working families. In turn, they experienced a 12.6% productivity boost and a flourishing economy. Both countries also have significantly lower infant mortality rates, a statistic I believe is directly linked to the improved status of women. Our administration has thus far failed to pull Sordland out of this economic recession. She leaned back in her chair. So I'm asking, why not try passing similar laws? At worst, even if they fail to improve the economy, it'll still be a significant step forward for our society. It's only logical. Monica handed me one of the documents. It had a list of bullet points on it. The two of us talked it over, and these are the measures we believe are most urgently needed. I let my eyes wander down the list. Criminalizing domestic violence, support for working mothers, equal treatment in the workforce. Support for working mothers. Chiara nodded. It simply isn't fair that women in the workforce are punished for having children. Remember what I told you about Janice, my friend who basically got fired for becoming pregnant? That would never happen to a man. Paid maternity leave and state-subsidized daycare centers could be key to keeping more mothers employed. Ja. It's true. Having children never hindered my career prospects. It shouldn't hinder a woman too. Exactly. Moving on. Criminalizing domestic violence. I shouldn't have to tell you how crucial this is. It is utterly unbelievable that in this day and age, Swedish men are legally allowed to beat their wives. Yeah, it's a travesty. I'm happy we're on the same page. As incidences are especially high within bluish communities. Oha. I would also advocate, ja gut, weil die so religiös sind, ne? I would also advocate for setting up a special domestic violence task force in collaboration with Bluish women's rights organizations. Monica looked at her strangely. Are you sure that's something we ought to focus on? The Blues are different. They have their own roots. Monica, hör mal. I'm surprised at you. We can't let women suffer under the patriarchy, no matter their ethnicity. Yeah, we should lift up all Sordish women, Blues included. We can discuss the particulars once the law has passed. And finally, equal treatment in the workforce. That's an easy one. Right now, Sordland has one of the continent's largest pay gaps between men and women. We need legislation ensuring that a woman doing the same job as a man is paid the same wage. We would also introduce quotas to get more women into positions of power, in the assembly for instance, or on the boards of corporations. Eventually, narrowing the pay gap is a far more pressing issue, as it would bring financial independence to countless lower-income women. Chiara, we never talked about this, but I always thought that with more women in power, higher status for all women would naturally follow. Women are starving because they don't make a living wage. That's a damn sight more important than your friend Janice being passed over for a promotion. Ah, jetzt müssen wir das auch noch uns entscheiden zwischen den beiden. Quoten. Ja, es gibt kein Problem mit Quoten, aber der Lohnunterschied ist wichtiger. Da muss ich tatsächlich Monika widersprechen an der Stelle. Monica gritted her teeth. Thank you, Mr. President. That covers all subjects. What are your thoughts so far? You've made a good case for all of these changes. Thank you. If we can pull this off before the elections, the Rayne administration will make history. Let's talk about how to proceed. I want to establish a commission for women's rights in Sordland with me as its head. Our goal shall be passing and implementing a set of laws to solve the problems we just discussed. As the Commission's spokeswoman, my responsibility will be to make speeches and organize fundraisers. I will be the face of the movement while Chiara handles the groundwork. If I can show that the First Lady is behind this movement, many women will be encouraged. Chiara gestured down at her outfit. Especially those who aren't keen on pantsuits. The organization's name will be Commission on the Status of Women. Warum braucht ihr eine Kommission? Ich werde die Gesetze einfach an der Versammlung vorbei erlassen. It's going to be damn hard getting your laws past the assembly. Tja, ist die Frage. Eigentlich sind das schon so wichtige Dinge, dass wir die genauso wie die anderen 3, die wir zuletzt beschlossen haben, 3 Gesetze, eigentlich auch direkt per Dekret umsetzen sollten, meiner Meinung nach. Aber das klingt so wieder so antidemokratisch autoritär irgendwie. Also es wird schwer, das durch die Versammlung zu bringen. I know, but even a watered down version would be better than nothing. One more thing to consider before making your decision. This could help silence any of the public's lingering questions regarding your former vice president and the Livia Zuno affair. You have the chance to be a hero. Think about Diana and her future. I hope you will make the right decision. They rose from their seats expectantly. I took a few minutes to think. Yeah, I will approve the creation of the commission and support your bill in the assembly. Natürlich. Gar keine Frage. Monica turned to her. That's all the excitement you can muster. You did it. We did it. Monica hugged Chiara. She smiled uncomfortably. It's not over yet, Monica. The true battle is in the assembly. We will celebrate once it's done. I'll start gathering names for the commission tonight. Chiara started collecting her documents. She and Monica headed towards the door. Monica paused before leaving. I love you, Anton. I'll see you at home. I could hear Monica and Chiara talking excitedly to each other as the door closed behind them. I looked out my window over the city of Hosord. It was a clear day outside. Jawohl. Sehr gut. Sehr gut, sehr gut, sehr gut. The Swedish League of Women have requested a private donation. Ja, guck mal, wir haben doch sogar noch Geld, das wir investieren können. The most influential women's rights NGO, the Swedish League of Women, is organizing a massive fundraising campaign to raise awareness of Swedish society and has reached out to us personally for private donations. Aber sofort. Lackhaven Time schreibt darüber. Rayne makes donation to Swedish League of Women. As Swedish women continue to march for equality, Anton Rayne showed his solidarity by donating a large sum to the Swedish League of Women. This was not only a generous gesture, it marked the first time a president of Sordland acknowledged and personally supported the women's rights struggle. Reached for comment, a spokeswoman from the league expressed her gratitude to Rayne while emphasizing that new policies will help the women's cause much more than finances. Ja, die sind auf dem Weg. Will policies follow? Fragt the radical voice. Is it fam-washing or the real deal? President Rayne made an unusually large out-of-pocket donation towards the Swedish League of Women, but has yet to budge on women's rights policies. Some of Rayne's defenders argue that the issue has always been on his agenda. Ja, war sie auch. But had to take a backseat as other, more urgent priorities sprang up during the first half of his term. This donation could be an indication of that they are right. Ja, und so weiter und so fort. Okay. Adam War, hello, let's go. Finding someone that plays this game. I think it's an awesome game. I have had it on my list for quite some time since the publication, and played it for a few, I don't know, an hour or so, and found it to be awesome, and then put it aside for Let's Play. Never really found the time to do it, and now is the time. So yeah, here we are now. So if you've played it, the reform of the constitution sadly failed. With, I think we had only 122 votes from the assembly of the necessary 166. But we are now sort of using the presidential decrees and, yeah, preparing the shift to a post-socialist society with some laws. Mediation of a Dispute. Ja, da haben wir ja immer noch diese Auseinandersetzung zwischen der Gendarmerie und der Polizei. Schauen wir mal. I arrived in the city of Vesord with my new Vice President Gloria after receiving an emergency meeting request from Josef and Lileas, Minister of War, Minister of the Interior. I had seen the reports of a recent issue that rose between the Swedish police force and the gendarmerie units at the city. The report said that an operation against a drug trafficking gang in Vesord failed due to miscommunication. It was not hard to guess what this meeting was going to be about. We entered the city hall and made our way to the second floor. I could hear Josef and Lilea's voices echoing through the hall. It's because we are thinking too much to the left, because I refuse this way. Yes, I did the same. I did the same. Yeah, I mean, that's so the premise of the game is very interesting, right? So sort of be thrown into a authoritarian conservative society and political system, and then trying to establish progressive reforms towards a liberal sort of equal society and democratization against those conservative backlashes is very interesting. You're supposed to not let your wife do the speech. I did let her do the speech, actually. Yeah, I'm curious to see where this leads to. So I opened the doors to the meeting room. The two ministers did not even realize. This is unacceptable. How dare the police meddle in the affairs of the Gendarmerie? Das ist ein bisschen seltsam. Wir hatten doch dieses Gespräch schon zwischen den beiden und haben eigentlich schon gesagt, dass wir die Gendarmerie dem Innenministerium unterstellen wollen. Mal sehr gespannt. It was your man who started this ridiculousness and meddled with an ongoing police investigation. Their voices were getting louder and louder. Rural security is my jurisdiction and your men were way outside of resort. Ministers, please stop your bickering in front of Mr. President. We will get nowhere if you continue with this behavior. Mr. President, Miss... Ist das nicht Mrs.? Ich dachte, es ist Mrs. Gloriatory. Ms. oder vielleicht ist es auch Ms. Vice President. Apologies, but Miss Graf here fails to understand her place. No, Mr. Lancier, you're the one who does not understand his place. If you continue to do so, you will pay for it one day. Calm down, both of you. I'm trying really hard to stay calm, Mr. President. Miss Graf, you are pushing your boundaries. What has happened, Lilias? Yes, the conservatives hate the Blutish. Yeah, because they are nationalists, of course. So the conservatives. And the Blutish are sort of, although they appear to be like heavily religious, they appear to be leftist oriented with the Worker Party and all that. So yeah, there's this natural conflict between them. Mr. Greiser was tasked with the investigation of a drug trafficking ring in downtown Resort. We found the evidence of a drug stash located in the outskirts of the city. We had to act quickly to put an end to the criminals we have been watching for some time, so we immediately sent our police units to catch them and find the drugs in the compound. Mr. Lancier and his gendarmerie did not notify us that they were also moving against the same target. As a result, criminals got away and we lost months of progress. Isn't there a line of communication? Die Frage ist ja, wer ist denn jetzt eigentlich da zuständig? Ich dachte, die Gendarmerie ist nur im ländlichen Raum zuständig, wo die Polizei nicht aktiv ist. Isn't there a line of communication between you? There is, but the Minister of Defense decided to avoid notifying the police department about the planned raid. The same could be said about you, because the reports show that you knew about the gang and their stash in the countryside. Okay, it was So if it's in the countryside, it should be under the gendarmerie. I see. I started tapping on the table with my fingers. We need to find a middle ground. How do we solve this issue so that it never happens again? I think this was the last drop. Internal security matters should be handed by the Ministry. Should be handed to the Ministry of Interior completely. Ja, das haben wir ja schon gesagt vorher. We are called the Ministry of Interior for a reason. We can't let any more screw-ups like this happen again. She looked at me. I want the gendarmerie to be transferred to the Ministry of Interior. What? Woman, are you out of your mind? Joseph turned red with anger. He composed himself after a moment. I have to agree with Miss Graf. If we unify the command, our internal security will improve. There is no question to that. Look, Miss Jory, I know you are new at this, and there's much that you were not briefed about, but I don't have to be briefed to see common sense, Mr. Lancier. I would also like to remind you that it is Miss Vice President to you. Ridiculous! This is absolutely ridiculous! I won't hand over gendarmerie to her. Out of the question. Do you have a better solution, Joseph? Whenever operations overlap, we should engage at a lower rank with the local officers on both sides. We could work on establishing that, but it still doesn't change the wrong system that exists now. I want to remind you about your promise, Mr. President. Right. I remember, don't you worry. That is relieving. What promise? Now I see what is going on here. What do you mean? Lilea set us up to create this incident. Lilea bit her lips. That is going too far. What proof do you have? There is no way that the police has arrived at the right time of a month-long search on the exact day and minute of the gendarmerie raid. Let us take it down a notch with the accusations. This kind of an accusation is unheard of. It's nonsense. If I were you, I wouldn't believe a word Mr. Lancier says, Mr. President. If you don't believe my word, believe this. If you decide to transfer the gendarmerie and weaken our military further, I will not be responsible for what happens. Your threats will get you nowhere. What is your decision? Yeah, so... I mean, there's still the danger of a military coup, right? Ist die Frage, ob das Militär putschen würde, wenn wir ihnen die Gendarmerie wegnehmen. Andererseits bin ich auch völlig der Meinung, dass innere Angelegenheiten nicht dem Militär zu übertragen sind. Gendarmerie will be transferred to the Ministry of Interior. Joseph stood up and leaned forward. His eyes darkened and spoke softly. Mr. Rayne, I'm openly warning you. Don't do this. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's for your own good. Lustige Sache ist ja, dass sie beide halt, also, die sind ja alle drei konservativ. I will not be threatened. I have already made my decision. I did all I could, Mr. President. Thank you for being a man of your word. It was the right call to establish a modern internal security structure. There are bigger issues at hand that need attention. Focus on them instead of each other. We will do our best. Right, Mr. Lancia? That's right, Miss Graf. I left the room to attend to my next scheduled meeting. Jetzt bin ich ja aber mal gespannt. Ach. Das wurde hier verbucht. Sided with the Ministry of the Interior. Das hatten wir vorher schon versprochen. Innenministerium wurde gestärkt. It is reported that the two ministries have resolved the problems and that President Rayne wanted to improve the internal versus external security structure. Officials from the Ministry of Defense did not comment on the transition publicly, while the Minister of Interior, Graf, hailed the move as a necessary one. Und die Gesundheitsversorgung ist mal wieder Thema. Die schauen wir uns dann beim nächsten Mal an und sind gespannt, ob das Militär, das ja ohnehin schon ungehorsam war, sich vielleicht jetzt auch aktiv gegen die Regierung stellt. Wir werden es sehen. Beim nächsten Mal. Bis dann. Euer Jan.